Namaskar and greetings from Indian Classical Music Circle, which is also known as ICMC. Today, in collaboration with Etawah Foundation, ICMC is presenting a session on the greats of Etawah Gharana, a tribute to the great masters of this illustrious Gharana, which is also known as Imdad Khani Gharana, after the name of the legend Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab. This is the prime lineage of classical instrumental music of India, in which uniquely each generation of musicians has produced the greatest luminaries of Indian classical music. Few words about Indian Classical Music Circle. ICMC is a non-profit organization which is working tirelessly to spread the awareness on Indian classical music among everyone through its digital platform. ICMC is the initiative of the musician, for the musician, and by the musicians to spread and preserve the teaching, thoughts, and vision of great musicians of past and present for the benefit of next generation musicians and rasikas, connoisseurs, to spread the finer nuances of Indian classical music as part of the interactive sessions with senior and respected musicians, and have an online platform for this performing art. Now today, this is the first time we are hosting this session with collaboration of Etawah Foundation. Few words about Etawah Foundation. Etawah Foundation was created by Dr. Vishwapati Trivedi, IAS, retired IAS, and former Secretary to the Government of India, to bring to fore the great history, tradition, art, and culture of Etawah, his own hometown. Etawah is a district in Uttar Pradesh, as we all know, which has a great history, tradition, and culture. Several heroes of the freedom struggle, great musicians, singers, poets, and artists belonged to Etawah. We are very happy that many people have joined online with us today from Etawah itself. And we are extremely pleased and delighted to have our very own Hidayat Hussain Khanji with us today from US. Who is renowned musician himself, and he is younger son and disciple of none other than Bharat Sitar Samrat Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab, and he is integral part of this sitar's first family, as it is said. Hidayat bhai, a warm welcome to you, and even though you are integral part of ICMC by now, if you could please share a few words and your thoughts about today's session and this initiative.
Thank you so much for having me, Ram bhai, once again. And as you said, I'm very much a part of, we are very much a part of the same family. So, but kudos to you for making this effort and putting in the work and time and for making these things happen, because they're so informative and they're so important for history. And today's day and age where we can digitalize all these important historical facts, and so thank you so much for making all that effort and having me a part of it as well. Today makes it even more special for me because एक Etawah का नाम सुनते ही ना, there's a warm feeling that comes in, क्योंकि हम लोगों की इतनी हिस्ट्री Etawah के साथ जुड़ी हुई है, और मुझे कभी मौका नहीं लगा Etawah जाने का. So the closest I've come to Etawah, apart from the stories, is today. So I really want to thank you for that.
But yeah, this is the smallest thing that we can do based on our limited capability, and we are very fortunate. I think a couple of years back, during just before the lockdown, Sir Dr. Vishwapati Trivedi, who has founded this Etawah Foundation, he came in touch with me just to have some idea how we can do something for the great music, this instrumental tradition, which is named after his hometown. So he's also very passionate about this thing, and probably, hopefully, we'll be able to host something offline, some event in Etawah itself. Uh, let's see how it
You know,
goes.
that's what makes the world of music so unique and so beautiful, that even though I belong to this bloodline, but the responsibility of the gharana, the music, lies in everyone's shoulders. And people like Dr. Saab doing such fantastic work and incorporating us back to our own family is so interesting, and it's so beautiful. So I really want to thank Dr. Saab and Etawah Foundation for taking this endeavor.
Yeah. So we will take this forward, and with our musical session and presentation, what we have. If you could just briefly tell about this tradition and lineage, the history that you have heard from Abba and other seniors. There are so many stories, incidents, anecdotes, which the entire music fraternity is aware, like Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab's Riyaz, and the different legends which happened for generations. So what, like in history, whatever we have heard so far is Thakur Surjan Singh ji, right? So if you could just tell a brief about that, and in parallel we can show the lineage that we have with us today.
I think not just our family, but any family that's so devoted to one thing just goes to show how what I mean, and no words can express the sentiment of what we feel of or about music. I mean, I am the seventh generation. We are the seventh generation. Sorry, I should correct that. We are the seventh generation musicians in this gharana, and now we even have the next generation, eighth generation. We so which is a very unique and very blessed. I mean, to have been able to carry this forward, and not just carry this forward, but the one of the most unique and amazing things is that कि हर generation में अपने टाइम के musicians इस तरीके के पैदा हुए कि उनकी contributions were so strong that really helped shape the map of Indian classical music. And they created a foundation, and then they created this beautiful structure, imarat, that we are all sort of building upon and standing on with such secure grounds all over the world. And it is only because of all their work and all their efforts that they've done through the generations. So a little bit more sort of detailed, going back 7 generations, जो अब्बा से कहानी सुनी थी, वो है कि हम लोग मिडिल इंडिया नौगामा करके कोई छोटी सी स्टेट थी जहाँ के जमींदार थे हमारे युग पुरुष forefathers सुरजन सिंह जी, और he was interested in music, तो उन्होंने वहाँ से म्यूजिक हमारे खानदान में आया, और वैसे सिलसिला चलता रहा up to 8 generations now. But we'll get into the history, but before we get into all that history, मैं ज़रूर एक point out करना चाहूँगा कि 2012 में मैं एक EMI के थ्रू एक रिकॉर्डिंग रिलीज कर रहा था इंडिया में, और हम लोग जब लॉन्च फंक्शन पे थे तो मेरे बड़े अच्छे दोस्त एमडी थे वहाँ पे, अपूर्व नागपाल. सो वो आके मुझे कहते हैं कि हिदायत, यू रियलाइज that you are the fourth generation musician in the direct lineage of musicians where we have released music. So Imdad Khan Sahab, Inayat Khan Sahab, his brother Wahid Khan Sahab, his son, their sons, my father, my uncle, um, and my granduncle's children, and then comes the next generation and the following generation. So I don't know. I think we might be the only family in the world which has now 5 generations of recorded music available. So this is not a hearsay. This is not an oral tradition that has gotten exaggerated or legends being created, but these are complete 100% facts that there are 5 generations of music in the direct bloodline lineage, not to mention the students of the family and the amount of students that each generation has had and contributed to the world of music, and how big this family has become as a result of all their contributions. Rampai, my suggestion is if we start the slides, then we'll be a little bit more systematic about it, rather than me, saying things and then we again have to repeat.
Absolutely. I think that will be better. And as you told about the influence, the kind of influence that this musical lineage has spread in the musical fraternity, it is unsurpassed till date. Yeah, in instrumental music, in some, as people say, in some way or other, every instrumentalist and even vocalist are having some impression or some influence of the greats of this lineage. Yeah.
सही बात है.
Yeah, I hope my screen is visible.
जी.
So here we see the very famous picture where we can see Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab and Ustad Imrat Khan Sahab are performing together on sitar and surbah respectively. And there is a portrait of Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab in the back, and Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab and Ustad Wahid Khan Sahab in both the sides. Yeah. Just
I mean,
a moment.
what a regal, royal picture. I think the picture speaks 1,000 words about the tradition.
Right. I will just take a moment because some noise is coming here. I will then again share. Just a moment. Yeah. Yes. I think this was used in few LP records as LP records cover of their duet music.
The Great Heritage.
The Great Heritage.
जो duet हुआ था.
जी. So this is the family tree of Etawah Gharana till the generation of Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab and Ustad Imrat Khan Sahab, to which we will discuss. As you said, they were the 6th generation. Now we have 7th generation and even next generations also. So yeah, as you were saying, Thakur Surjan Singh ji and then Turab Khan Sahab and Sahabdat Khan Sahab. From Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab's time, we have recorded music. Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab, Wahid Khan Sahab, and from Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab's lineage, we have Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab, Ustad Imrat Khan Sahab, and from Ustad Wahid Khan Sahab's lineage, we have Aziz Khan Sahab and Hafiz Khan Sahab, all great instrumentalists of their time.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, as you were saying, Thakur Surjan Singh ji used to were originally from Nagaon, right? Of Madhya Pradesh, yeah. And he was a practitioner of Dhrupad music, and as in some articles I have found, he was invited musician in the Royal Court of Delhi in his time.
Mm-hmm.
Then his son Ustad Turab Khan Sahab, whose Rajput name was Baddu Singh. As we know, you originally have the Rajput lineage, and I think all the family members have some Rajput name in some way. So Ustad Turab Khan Sahab's the name was Baddu Singh. I got this information from one of the article, either from Jitendra Mohan Sengupta, who was Inayat Khan Sahab's disciple,
Mm-hmm.
or Bimalakanta Rai Chaudhary.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was a Dhrupad vocalist and instrumentalist as well, and he spent decades to collect and preserve different compositions, as we see from the history. Then Ustad Sahabdat Khan Sahab, he was a multi-instrumentalist and master of sitar and surbahar. He pioneered the influence of Khayal music in this tradition, as he was brother-in-law of the great Gwalior vocalist Ustad Haddu Khan Sahab, the famous Haddu Hasu Khan Sahab, as they were called. They used to perform together. Haddu Hasu Khan Sahab of Gwalior GHARANA. So he had family relation with him, and he is also widely acclaimed as the major contributor of the structural evolution of the instrument surbahar.
Mm-hmm.
Like his contemporaries were there, like Ustad Sajjad Muhammad Khan Sahab and his father Ghulam Muhammad Khan Sahab. So all of them had some contribution in inventing and giving the current form of surbahar, modern form of surbahar. So as you said, the recorded evidence of this lineage starts from Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab, and probably he was the first. This is the first available surbahar recording in history.
G.
And when this recording company, I think HMV, came, and they recorded only handful of musicians, and Imdad Khan Sahab was one of them. And I think in between 1902 to 1905, these recordings which are available of Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab, I think they were recorded in Kolkata. So about Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab's Jaunpuri we have on surbahar. So should we play this one?
हाँ एकदम.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
क्या बात है?
वाह
वाह, अब्बा कहते थे कि
जस्ट जी
कि the beauty of our music is कि इमदाद खान साहब के टाइम पे भी जौनपुरी वही थी जो आज है,
जी
लेकिन हर एक आर्टिस्ट ने उसकी एक क्या खूबसूरती, और मतलब it's the same structure, लेकिन it has allowed you to have so much of personal interpretation which makes Indian classical music so unique. अब्बा हमेशा ये बात कहते थे कि within उसके स्ट्रक्चर में रह के अगर तुम आगे बढ़ते जाओ तब
जी
वो इंडियन क्लासिकल म्यूजिक है, नहीं तो वो इंडियन क्लासिकल म्यूजिक नहीं। और यहाँ पे एकदम साबित होता है कि ये when was this recording, 1890 something?
I think 1902. So Imdad Khan Saab's recording, was done in between 1902 to 1905 or 8, something like that. Yeah,
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
So now imagine that that the technology that was available at that time. I mean, a lot of viewers may not find today's presentation or topic entertaining, but for musicians that are hands-on, especially hands-on musicians, for them to understand how important it is, that the amount of practice, the amount of dedication that this man must have put into his music to have been able to present it in such a way at 1902, where there was hardly any technology to capture sound,
right.
and the subtle nuances of his playing, the balance of the of playing, और वो मींड का सुरभार पे क्या डेवलपमेंट किया होगा कि उसका प्रोजेक्शन कितना खूबसूरत है।
पाधानी सा रेगा जो मीन आ रहा है, पाधानी सा रेगा एकदम डिस्टिंक्ट और क्लियर।
एग्जैक्टली और आज हम वही यही मीन आज हम टेक्नोलॉजी के हेल्प से एग्जीक्यूट करते हैं, एम्पलीफाई करके, ये करके, वो करके, लेकिन यहाँ पे there is no help whatsoever. In fact, जो प्रोजेक्शन ओरिजिनल सुरभार का होगा वो कितना सबड्यूड हो गया है इस रिकॉर्डिंग में, लेकिन उनके हाथ और उनकी सोच इतनी पुख्ता थी कि आज तक, this is like 120 plus years later, we are still hearing the absolute subtlety and the nuances and everything. और 3 मिनट में मतलब जौनपुरी की पूरी तालीम कर दी उन्होंने।
जी, इसमें like in concerts we have seen musicians or singers taking some time to establish सा आ रहा है बीच में, then to build the mood and all, but instantly within 3.5 minutes of recording, how he started and instantly as if we are listening it for 3.5 hours.
Subhanallah, how beautiful. Yeah, exactly. A 3.5 minute recording sounds like you've been listening to it for 3.5 hours. How amazing.
So इसका mood ऐसे established, and also not only definitely the riyaz and hands and technique, his but how intelligently he has thought to put the entire Jaunpuri essence within a capsule of 3.5 minutes. This is even, I think, even more difficult to put the entire spectrum of Jaunpuri within 3.5 minutes. Even if we listen to other great musicians like Ustad Abdul Karim Khan Sahab, of his contemporary great musicians, we get this quality, which is unbelievable.
I'm so glad, Ramba, you mentioned Abdul Karim Khan Sahab and other great musicians, because yes, we are doing a presentation on our Gharana, Etawah Gharana and everything, but the contributions of many Gharanas have made Indian classical music and given us this opportunity to be what we are. Unfortunate, हम लोग भी कल परसों बात कर रहे थे कि एक good musician अपने ज़माने का, a good musician always is maybe related to a certain lineage, is always related to a certain lineage. Maybe he's a disciple of his father or of his guru, who may not be his father, but absorbs music from various different gharanas, various different ustads, and pandits, and absorbs that within himself and then produces it out. And हमारे घराने में ये बहुत visible है कि इन्फ्लुएंसेस ख्याल की एक यहाँ से आई हैं, ध्रुपद की वहाँ से आई हैं, इंस्ट्रूमेंटल म्यूजिक की कहीं और से आई हैं, and that's the reason that made all of these great maestros such complete musicians of their era.
जी
Because इन्होंने बहुत जगहों से, and imagine उस जमाने में to
जी
acquire that knowledge and acquire that information, grasping power क्या होगा कि आज तो हम जितना हमको इमरान खान साहब को फिर से सुनना है, जौनपुरी 2000 बार फिर से सुन लेंगे,
एब्सोल्युटली
एक एक फ्रेज कॉपी कर लेंगे, लेकिन हम
जी
अब्जॉर्ब 2000 बार सुनने के बाद भी नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। इनमें क्या कैपेसिटी होगी कि इन्होंने
जी
मे भी अपनी यंग एज में किसको, कौन से उस्ताद पंडित को एक बार कहीं पे फ्लीटिंगली सुना होगा और वो अब्जॉर्ब कर लिया होगा।
जी भैया, I think the other day was talking, mentioning about some influence he got from some Pakhawa's maestro. The
जी
way, so if you could just mention how he got inspiration for doing the tremendous riyaz, as there was no clock that time, as it is said, and
जी
we have heard from Abba also in his interview, DD interview, that चार मोमबत्ती का रियाज,
जी
like एक मोमबत्ती 4-4 घंटे का जल, तो वो रियाज 16 hours का रियाज किया, तो उसका इन्फ्लुएंस आप अगर वो एनेक्डोट अगर आप सबके लिए बताएं।
तो अब्बा एक कहानी बताते थे, मैं एकदम आपको जब जिस दिन वो परसों से मेरे को एकदम नाम दिमाग से भूल गया है,
जी
लेकिन एक नॉट श्योर वेदर ये नेपाल की बात है या इंदौर की बात है, सो देयर इज बट एक उनके वहां पे कोर्ट म्यूजिशियन थे जो पखावज, आई थिंक नेपाल, बिकॉज वो काली को टीका लगा के रियाज करते थे, तो अपनी
जी
उंगली काट के रियाज के पहले
जी
काली को टीका लगाते थे,
काली माता को, जी
काली माता को,
जी
एंड उसके बाद वो रियाज करते थे। और उनका कहा जाता है कि अब्बा कहते थे कि उनका जब जब वो तद्दुम के तक का रियाज करना शुरू करते थे,
जी
तो इस पावर से और इस स्पीड से करते थे कि पखावज वुड एक्चुअली गो अप इन मिड एयर।
वाओ
मतलब
जी
उस स्पीड और उस विगर से और उस धुन में वो रियाज करते थे कि पखावज वुड गो इन मिड एयर।
जी
और इमदाद खान साहब ने उनका रियाज का बहुत जिक्र सुना था, तो वो उनसे बड़ा इंस्पायर थे वो, और वो उनके साथ, वो उनके सोच में उनसे इंस्पायर हो कि he used to practice every day, and he really wanted to play with him, perform with
जी
him, and unfortunately when that time came when he went to Nepal, it is about Nepal, Maharaj, this thing, when he went to Nepal to perform with him,
जी
he had just recently passed away, and
वाओ
Imdad Khan Sahab was very, very disappointed listening to that. But the inspiration came from. So that is the kind of things that these maestros would get inspired by. And
जी
there's another story related to this, that when Imdad Khan Sahab found out
जी
about this, he was very, very, very saddened.
जी
And so he was playing music in the night. And उस ज़माने में people used to live in tents, so they were living in tents, and there was a
जी
rogue elephant
जी
around, and so that rogue elephant came into the area where everyone was living, and there was big helter skelter, and people were running because rogue elephants are very, very dangerous creatures. But
जी
Imdad Khan Sahab did not even realize, because he was so in tuned and dedicated into his riyaz,
जी
and that he didn't even realize the chaos in the beginning. And
जी
apparently, the story goes, now this is a legend, whether it's facts. I mean, all these stories are what they are, but I've heard it in this way, that the elephant was so enamored
जी
by his music that outside the tent he just sat there all night, not moving, listening to Imdad Khan Sahab's practice. So these are the kind of again, these may be legends, you
या
don't know, but they speak towards the character and dedication, and then in their music you can hear that
जी,
it's not, music is not something you do.
you
Um,
leave. Yeah,
Especially if you want to do music at this level, if you want to have this kind of touch and feel and emotional connect with music, it's not something that you do. It's something that you live. It's like
leave it.
eating, breathing, to that level, and it's very prevalent in his music.
Yeah, absolutely. And this picture that we have got, it is from Nepal court.
G,
I think you had this picture in your home.
G,
So Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab is visible. He's sitting second from the left, and I think to his right, Ustad Ghagge Nazir Khan Sahab is also visible here. So this is from Nepal Maharaja's court
correct.
when he visited there.
So this was in our house in Dehradun.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
huge, big 8 by 10 size, blown up. So this was in our living room, and it's a big 8 by 10 blown up photograph of this, and followed by so the four walls in the living room. One wall was of all the great musicians and singers and instrumentalists and dancers of our culture, of our background. Rajab Ali Khan Sahab, Amir Hussain Khan Sahab, name the artist, Fayyaz Khan Sahab, Abdul Karim Khan Sahab, Omkar Nath Thakur ji, going back, एक पूरी दीवार में पोर्ट्रेट्स थे उनके, दूसरी दीवार में हमारा पूरा खानदान, जैसे जो ये ग्रेट हेरिटेज वाली पिक्चर, इमदाद खान साहब, वहीद खान साहब, इनायत खान साहब, माय दादी, और एंड इवन माय दादी साइड ऑफ द फैमिली जो सारे वोकलिस्ट थे, और फिर दूसरे साइड में दूसरी वॉल में वेस्टर्न क्लासिकल म्यूजिशियंस, बेथोवन, बाख, मोजार्ट,
Wow.
and so पूरा घर वो पूरा घर और वो पूरा कमरा was just resounding of music and musicians all the time.
Ji. We have seen just a glimpse of it from a picture of Raghurai. I think Abba was just standing
Ji.
with all the pictures behind, and from the mirror we can see the family members, including you.
Right.
It was a very beautiful picture that we have seen.
Ji.
So about Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab, if we go forward, there are a couple of quotes that we get from history. Durjati Prasad Mukhopadhyay, who was father of late Pandit Kumar Prasad Mukhopadhyay, in his book Sur and Sangati, he mentioned Imdad Khan himself became a gharana, and now the entire nation is following the Imdad Khan style. In his time, he wrote this thing.
Yeah, but
Then we get similar quotes that the contemporary Masjid Khani Gat and Imdad Khan Sahab brought silsila into it. So it is more relevant to call it Imdad Khani in the contemporary music scene. Pandit Bimala Kanta Rai Chaudhary wrote in his book, Bharatiya Sangeet Kosh. As you already mentioned, each generation has produced the most influential musician and instrumentalist in their era. So Imdad Khan Sahab was no exception. He was the pioneering musician to set the tradition of playing alap, jod, and chala on surbahar and gat toda on sitar in his lineage.
Ji.
And he
And
introduced
also he made so many contributions.
जी भैया
एक तो कहते हैं कि रा का स्ट्रोक सुरबहार में नहीं होता था,
जी पहले
रा
तो
का स्ट्रोक
जी जी
दो मिसरा पहन के वो वीणा के तरीके से बजाया जाता था. So that opened up, the Ra stroke opened up a whole nother world which we take for granted right now, which we take like we're living, eating, breathing, but that Ra stroke created such an world. Then tarab bhi उन्होंने introduce किया था
सुरबार
सुरबहार में, and झाले का काम भी वो लेके आए थे in सुरभार. So there's so many contributions. I think we can play some recordings also. वो द्राड़, फिर वो रा के बोल से फिर वो कितने different bowl patterns on the right hand add हुए. So I think we can play some recordings of those examples also.
Ji, ji.
Sorry, did
And
I cut your
no,
track?
absolutely. You have covered, I think, all important points, and just to mention the outstanding technical virtuosity, and which we will listen from the recording, and we can talk about that. The weight of the stroke, the power of the right hand stroke, and impact. Even you talked about that. This impact in that kind of recording system, ancient recording system. Yeah, so we will listen to Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab's Darwari Gat. Yeah. Wow, wow, wow. Just like storm.
Just Ram bhai, can you imagine हम लोग को 3-3.5 मिनट में एक ये माहौल मिल रहा है. Can you imagine listening to him
live? Absolutely. Same Dhurjati Prasad Mukherjee mentioned in his Sur and Sur O Sangoti, that is mentioned in Bengali, Sur O Sangoti, that he listened to Ustad Imdad Khan's Puriya, Yaman and similar rags for 2.5 hours, 3 hours and time passed like nothing. But he was mentioning the contemporary musics in his time. For the younger generation, he was not, uh, getting that kind of quality even in his time. So Imdad Khan Sahab's, like, we envy to the people who have listened these legends live.
I mean, it's mind-boggling. See, there is so much of depth and thought into the music,
जी,
and understanding also. It's not. हम लोग unfortunately music में जब बात करते हैं that we either talk from a point of view of getting lost into music,
जी,
right?
right,
Or and within, when you get lost into the music, you lose the concept of aesthetics, timing, and building the whole picture. But here, what's beautiful is that within 3.5 minutes, he was able to build the entire picture. दिर दिर कितनी करना, झाला कितना करना, कहाँ पे क्या करना, वो पूरा एक structure बनाया, which was very different than presenting the same rag for an hour and a half too,
जी,
and still having that complete picture. So the genius is that कि आप 3 मिनट में भी वो पिक्चर दे रहे हैं, रूह को सुकून दे रहे हैं, और आप 3 घंटे में भी वही कैप्चर कर रहे हैं, रूह को सुकून मिल
जी.
रहा है. It's not getting prolonged. It's not getting
It's
feel.
repetitive.
The impact
Yeah.
is the same perfection. Or जो everything is done for a reason.
जी,
And that reason is सिलसिला. और वो सिलसिला जो पैटर्न्स बने हुए हैं, जो अभी भी हम लोग ये पैटर्न्स यूज करते हैं अपने गाने बजाने में. ये जो लास्ट की थी तिहाइयाँ, जो जो चक्रधार का ये जो पूरा एवरीवन लाइक इससे निकले ही नहीं है बाहर.
जी. You were talking about he introduced some scripted phrases and structure with core essence of the rag and
Absolutely.
execution pattern that is there in Tan and in Jhala pattern and double Jhala, where
Exactly.
Diri Diri Bol is played in Chikari. So many innovations he did, which was not there before him. Right,
Absolutely.
the Diri Diri Bol on Chikari before actually entering the Jhala.
Right.
Because in general we see after people finish Tan and people start Jhala, there is a very big gap and people don't understand what to do in between. But how beautifully that was thought in that era, and how and what he has done, and everyone, all of us are trying to just follow that. So this is really amazing fact.
Thank you for saying what I was trying to say so much better.
And Bhaiya, that scripted phrase that we are talking about, right? The structure of the core essence of the rag,
Uh,
even it has the seed of improvisation. There are so much possibilities that the new avenues can be taken from there, from the
yep.
script of whatever he has done in 3.5 minutes. So many avenues we can have from there, and yeah. So that I was thinking also. Yeah.
But you just said it very articulately and beautifully. But क्या बात है? That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
And when we listen to his next generation musicians, including Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab, Abba, Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab, and other next generations, we see how that, the way he developed and defined the pattern of evolution of the melodic and rhythmic content, which was further developed by Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab, Ustad Wahid Khan Sahab, and next great masters of Etawah Gharana. And another fact, which I was just reading his this Wikipedia article, there it is mentioned that Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab did more than 12 years of dedicated riyaz in Etawah. There is a place in Etawah, probably the localites might be knowing which place, and where he used to do chilla.
Ji.
And I think Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab and Ustad Wahid Khan Sahab, both of them were born in Etawah itself,
Ji.
in that period.
Ji.
So and I think Imdad Khan Sahib's association with Etawah was so deep and so long. That's why this name of this gharana is either called Imdad Khani Gharana or called Etawah Gharana, because he was the kind of Yug Purush.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. वहाँ पे I was told वहाँ पे वो घर अभी भी है कि जहाँ पे करते थे. At least I'm talking about quite a few years ago मेरे को बताया था किसी ने कि वो घर अभी भी है जहाँ पे वो रियाज करते थे 10 12 15 साल he did chilla over there and yes Wahid Khan साहब and Inayat Khan साहब were both born and raised there so what क्या atmosphere होगा वहाँ पे
जी known for his legendary riyaz and he was highly respected court musician of different princely states including Indore where probably he spent quite some time in Mysore and also for brief period in Hyderabad also I think
जी
one of the first Surbahar sitar maestro whose music was recorded as we mentioned in Etawah. He practiced chilla for some 12 years and he stayed in in different cities including Kolkata and Abba also in one incident he mentioned about that home where he used to stay. I have that. If I can show that picture of that house, it is just related to that history.
okay this I have also not seen
Yeah. So this is
uh-huh.
the current recent photo of Etawah Junction, Etawah railway station. So this place is historically so important for us. Okay, this is for Sadhanath Khan. Okay, this is the house in Bidon Street, which is not very far from the place where I stay, College Street. So this is the house of Tara Prasad Ghosh and Narayan Pratap Ghosh, where Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab and many other great contemporary musicians, including Ustad Kale Khan Sahab, who was Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab's ancestor. So all the great ustads used to stay in this house, and these pillars are till date it is like this. So I took this picture 5 6 years ago when I was just passing this, and yeah. So this is the house where Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab has stayed
so he used to
along with
come here and live in when he used to come to Calcutta he used to live here
live here. Yeah, he stayed in this house for quite some time. And I think other connoisseurs like Saurendra Mohan Thakur and other patrons of classical music, he stayed with them also for some time.
जी
Yeah,
वाह क्या बात है राम भाई क्या बात है done a lot of amazing research वाह
there are a lot more to do. I'm trying to gather all the information. Uh, Now we were talking about his amazing Jhala. So this his hallmark Sohini recording, if we can play. Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh,
Oh, क्या बात है?
इसके बाद क्या बात करेंगे भैया? बात करने का ही मन नहीं
Seriously,
होता है.
seriously. Amazing, amazing. मतलब really इसके बाद क्या बात करें?
एक भी ब्रीदिंग स्पेस बीच में नहीं है, मतलब फॉर 3.5 इज कंटिन्यूअस एंड सो concrete and dense and reach. Oh, what adjectives we can say about this
सही बात है.
recording?
मतलब 3.5 मिनट constantly बजाना, but at the same time, it's not like 3.5 मिनट कुछ भी आप constantly सुनो पर कान परेशान हो जाता है.
जी
उसमें there is silence also in there. The
जी
dynamics of strength, beauty, vigor, the entire depth of emotions in that 3.5 minutes. That's why it doesn't feel busy to the ear, because 3.5 minutes is a very long time.
जी. If you listen to
I mean, क्या बात है.
और उसमें लयकारी देखिए कैसे, देड़ी का लयकारी कैसे सडनली
Everything
अनप्रेडिक्टेबल
is
मूवमेंट.
seamless. Everything is seamless. It's like a beautiful river.
जी
जब रिवर अपना रास्ता किस तरीके से फ्लो करते हुए चले जाता है, जहाँ पे घूमना है, जहाँ पे रैपिड्स हैं, जहाँ पे स्मूथनेस है, पूरा इट्स जस्ट लाइक अ ब्यूटीफुल रिवर फ्लोइंग इनटू द ओशन. क्या बात है.
जी.
You know, Ram bhai, I honestly thought we will wrap today's session a little bit quickly, because
जी, we have other
of
great meisters also. Yeah.
हाँ, but we've been like 50 minute हो गए हैं. We were just talking about Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab, and I think that this needs to be done a 4-part series or a 6-part series or something like that.
Just to Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab, his disciples were, as we all know, Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab and Ustad Wahid Khan Sahab, his sons. Then Brajendra Kishore Roy Chaudhary, who was Zamindar of Gauripur, currently in Bangladesh, where later Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab was also court musician, and Brajendra Kishore Babu's son, Virendra Kishore Roy Chaudhary, learned from Inayat Khan Sahab also. In Calcutta, in Bengal, he was part of the Renaissance. He was kind of major contributor of the Renaissance in Bengal's revolution of instrumental music. So Prakash Chandra Sen, I think he was Dr. Prakash Chandra Sen, Kalyani Mallik were also his disciples. Rahim Khan of Rodhak and Mamman Khan, the famous Surbahar and Sarangi player of Patiala, were also Ustad Imdad Khan Sahib's disciples. And as you said, he used to, in train journey, in the station, he used sometimes, if there is a break, then he used to have the satranchi or takiya laga ke, then he used to start practice within even that short span in a railway station. And this great master passed away during his train journey, probably in an area of Ratlam, right? If I'm not wrong, you were talking, you were saying. Yeah.
I mean, this is true to both Inayat Khan Sahab and Imdad Khan Sahab के ये लोग जब travel करते थे train journey से, तो जब इनका रियाज का वक्त होता था, they used to take a break from their train journey and stop whichever station came, and practice nothing. I mean, there are so many stories. I think this was a story of also Imdad Khan Sahab, that his daughter was very, very unwell, or Inayat Khan Sahab, if I'm getting confused, and उनको बुलाया जा रहा था कि she's on her last breath, लेकिन उन्होंने अपना रियाज नहीं छोड़ा, बोलने लगे कि मेरे रियाज छोड़ने से उसका कुछ वो change तो नहीं हो जाएगा. The outcome is not going to change. And maybe I think it was Imdad Khan Sahib, and then after that he stopped.
इमदाद खान साहब, इमदाद खान साहब.
उसके बाद उन्होंने उनकी बेटी के इंतकाल के बाद then he had stopped practicing in music. I'd given it up, but at that moment unko chilla, it was such an important thing to him that at that moment he didn't even give up for his daughter. So there's so many stories about Riyaz, and it's so relevant in the music that but again, for the new generation, I really want to tell you one thing, that it's not the hours that you put in. हाँ, हम लोग बहुत concentrate करते हैं 4 मोमबत्ती का रियाज या ये, but it's या 12 घंटे ऐसा रियाज और 10 घंटे ऐसा रियाज. It's not the hours that you put in. It is really the feeling and the dedication that you have towards music, which is really what is the key. And the amount of thought that you're putting into music. And each of these artists, yes, they spent hours practicing, but their entire life was about music. They really lived, ate, breathed music, and that's why they became what they became. So it's not just a matter of hours. It's and then you have to be blessed.
जी, वो तो जरूरी है for absolutely.
So moving on to Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab.
जी.
I mean, there's still so much to cover about Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab alone, but
जी. Probably we will do this. Actually, we are doing this. Like last year we did these episodes, and this year we are doing in November. Probably we will do this in every year, and some new information will come every time.
Zarur, because there's so much of information that that we've really not covered, and there's also information that some information I have that you don't have, some information you have that I don't have, and then there is so much information around that people can contribute, and I really request anyone who has some information, because so please help us, guide us, and pass on the information so we can put it all together and compile it all together so it's accessible, and it's hopefully more easier, because otherwise you need to be like Ram Bhai is so dedicated to doing all this research. So we're trying to make your life easier.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll start with Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab's Surbahar, which talks about itself. So, yeah.
प्रोफेसर इनायत खान सितारिये।
I mean,
जी
पहले स्ट्रोक से वो जिस तरीके से निखात से धैवत पे आते हैं,
जी
you can see a complete different world.
completely.
सुर पे आने का तरीका इतना इतना अलग, इतना मिजाज अलग है, और सुर लगाने का तरीका इतना, there's such a simplicity and a directness,
And also innocence.
in innocence, simplicity, innocent, directness, and it makes it so hard because of the simplicity of it, and you need to, that's not ornamentated with anything. There is no, and उसके वजह से इतना मुश्किल हो जाता है वो कि there is no room for, like, not even a point % room for error here and there. So accuracy is just beyond. And that gives you the insight of his mindset and thinking, and what kind of a person, किस तरीके से वो एक बड़ी सिंपल सी चीज को किस डेप्थ से देखते थे,
और एक स्ट्रोक में पूरा अवरोहन आरोहण करके फिर से अवरोहन एक ही स्ट्रोक में 6 सुर का।
वाह, वो आप मैं यहाँ पे स्लाइड देख रहा हूँ, स्कॉल बंगाल के जादूगर,
जी, द मैजिशियन ऑफ बंगाल,
मेक सेंस, यू नो, कि ये
बिकॉज़ ऑफ हिज कैप्टिवेटिंग एंड मैजिक। जी, so there are few quotes, like Ustad Fayaz Khan Sahab used to call him Bengal ki Jadugir because of his captivating and mesmerizing impact of his music and charming application of the notes. Ustad Hafiz Ali Khan Sahab, the Sarod maestro, used to say when Ustad Inayat Khan used to play sitar, the fairies used to dance along.
क्या बात है?
And in his autobiography Rag Anurag, Pandit Ravi Shankar ji mentioned when I was planning to start playing sitar and I got inspired after listening to Omyokanti Bhattacharya, Aka Bhumbol Babu, who was disciple of Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab, then Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab was shining like a sun in the world of instrumental music, and everyone was trying to mimic him. All other instrumentalists was just trying to play like in that style. And there was a small booklet in the chairman choice of the great Gharana Imdad Khani, which my father gifted. There was another line. In those days, Rasikas used to say this in between, like, "अरे भाई इनायत खान को सुनने के लिए जाओ तो साथ में रुमाल लेकर के जाओ." It is so emotionally impactful. So all these were. As we see from different, we have heard from different musicians, and we have tried to gather few points just to highlight his pioneering contribution. The most influential instrumentalist of Indian subcontinent of his era, his approach to music was introspective and meditative. He re-engineered instrument with help of Kanai Lal, instrument maker of Kolkata. He enhanced the baj of the gharana to the great extent. He introduced sapartan on sitar with the principle of one note, one stroke principle. He introduced the execution of Khayal Ang Murki. Peshkar, he brought the peshkar of tabla into sitar, and the robust technique of both right hand and left hand, with unmatched sweetness and surilapan, as you were talking. I put this surilapan, you cannot have any English synonym. You can call musicality, but surilapan is something which defines his music. And usage of complex right hand bowl, where Imdad Khan Sahab introduced Ra stroke, downward stroke. Inayat Khan Sahab introduced, to Darad, even more complex bowl, derived complex bowls. Just Darad is just one example. from Kashi Babu, who learned from Srinivas Nag, who was disciple of Inayat Khan Sahib. Kashi Babu taught us few set of bowls which Inayat Khan Sahib used to teach to his shagirdis just to unlock and strengthen right hand. Those are very complex bowl patterns, and it takes time to grasp different complex and bowl pattern, and then deploying the tihais of different length, pattern, and character. So he took all those things, brought all those things to instrumental music, and as we listen in his recordings, very specialized approach of jhala, double jhala, and the concluding dara dirdiri bol, which is of superhuman standard. But Bhaiya, if you want to add anything in between, you please tell.
No. I mean, शुरुआत में I mean, you've got these points so beautifully structured, and शुरुआत में जो point है ना, influential. He was a very influential man also of his time. Abba used to say that whichever musician came to Calcutta would always be invited to the house. There were great parties in the house. There was a lot of, he was extremely liked and very sort of ahead of his time, very friendly. He removed parda system from our house. And at that time, to remove parda was a very sort of very forward for his time and very iconic thing to do. He was very sophisticated. He was very charming. He had very social man, conscious about his dress sense, his appearance, and a lot of those qualities were passed down to Abba. And you can see where it came from, because he, as growing up, he saw that level of sophistication and interest in a lot of things, luxuries of life and art and jewelry, and he was very interested in what Dadi Amma ki jewelry ka designing mein ya kapde kya pehenengi. Same as Abba, I used to see, he's always very interested in he was always buy sarees for my mom. So I can see that that us zamane mein how that must have come from Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab into him, and how he must have seen. Kehte the ki dining table would be set in a certain way. So he used to live in a very regal, very royal way. Khane ka, he wanted plate settings, and so very very cultured, very worldly man, and as a result, I think his music was also very, very popular in his time, and he was able to have many followers and students.
Ji. These are the amazing facts which we can hear only from probably you. No one else can tell all these details, personal details. Yeah. If you,
Bas sometimes these personal stories also matter a lot. बस जब भी दादा की कहानी सुनते थे, उसमें ये सारी चीजें बहुत आती थी कि वो like funny anecdotes also, कि घर की प्लेट्स होती थी जो खाना खाने की, तो उसमें there was a gold rim on the outside and there was a gold rim on the inside also. जी. और वो प्लेट में थोड़ा सा एक डिप था. जी. तो उनकी sophistication इस तरीके की थी कि when everyone was eating khana, so when you would get served, that shouldn't go outside, the food should not go outside the gold rim. Oh. तो वो जब खाना and अगर कभी भी जाता था, तो he would just give a look like this, and you would be like अच्छा, and then everyone would sort of push it back. It's not that he didn't want you to eat, but it's the sophistication and how you needed to be dressed. अगर कोई आए शाम के वक्त तो किस तरीके से कुर्ता पहनना, या धोती उनकी completely crisp iron and starched. He started wearing dhoti So very fashionable man, and who had a lot of charisma and charm, and, and people gravitated towards him.
জি
I mean, non-musical in situations also, people gravitated. They were very fond of him. He had a magnetic sort of force where people befriended him.
জি
They wanted to spend time with him. Very interesting man.
জি Bhaiya, if you allow me, I have collected few quotes from his direct disciples from their own books or notes which were published, which I could gather. But all of these are in Bengali. These are very short. It will give some insight in his personality because they saw him firsthand, and it is their writing. So probably it will be apt.
Ji.
Pandit Dhrubotara Joshi, D.T. Joshi ji, he mentioned, আমাদের ঘরের বাদন পদ্ধতিতে গানের গুরুত্ব বরাবরই ছিল, এই জন্য গানের তালিমও প্রয়োজন ছিল। इनायत खान साहब उनको उनको बताया कि गाना अगर सीखना है तो किसी गवैये से सीखना चाहिए, but D.T. Joshi ji's guru bhakti was such he could not imagine anyone else teaching him. So in one occasion Ustad Fayaz Khan Sahab came and visited Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab's house in Calcutta, where Inayat Khan Sahab suggested him to sing for Ustad Fayaz Khan Sahab. Then D.T. Joshi ji sang for some time, and Ustad Fayaz Khan Sahab was highly impressed, and he was so impressed he gave some compositions to him. Then Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab, at that point, he was telling Joshi ji that you go and have Ganda Bandhan from Ustad Fayaz Khan Sahab. So he possessed such a big heart, which is very rare to find in present days gurus. They cannot imagine. Even the disciples, students go to visit some other ustad, they get insecure of losing the student. But you see the quality of this great Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab. I mean, he possessed such a big heart. This is a very rare quality, even today. Then Jitendra Mohan Sengupta, his writing, Songiteর আসরে Ustad Inayat Khan ব্যক্তিত্ব ছিল বিপুল, as you said, personality. 1930 সালে 31 নম্বর চৌরঙ্গি রোডে বিখ্যাত দন্ত চিকিৎসক ডাক্তার মজুমদারের চেম্বারে একটি সঙ্গীতের আসর বসত। সেখানে একবার এনায়েত খান সাহেবের সুরবাহারা সেতারের সঙ্গে ভারত বিখ্যাত তবলিয়া ওস্তাদ আবিদ হোসেন খাঁর তবলা সঙ্গতের অনুষ্ঠান হয়েছিল। খান সাহেবের সুরের কাজ, বিদ্যুতের মতো সাপাট টান এবং তার সঙ্গে আবিদ হোসেনের তবলা শ্রোতাদের চমৎকৃত করেছিল। 1934-35 সালে ইউনিভার্সিটি ইনস্টিটিউট হলে অল বেঙ্গল সঙ্গীত সম্মেলনে আব্দুল করিম খাঁ সাহেব, ফয়াজ খান সাহেবের খেয়াল, নাসিরউদ্দিন খান সাহেবের ধ্রুপদ এবং এনায়েত খান সাহেবের সেতার যাদের শুনবার সৌভাগ্য হয়েছে, তারা পরবর্তীকালের অনুষ্ঠানে সঙ্গীত আর তেমনভাবে উপভোগ করতে পেরেছেন কিনা সন্দেহ। In one instance, this I heard from Kashi Babu, Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab was not scheduled to perform in certain concert, but Ustad Abdul Karim Khan Sahab came. It happened in University Institute Hall, which is just 5 minutes walk from my place in Calcutta. So someone was scheduled to perform after Ustad Abdul Karim Khan Sahab, but the kind of impact that Ustad Abdul Karim Khan Sahab left in the audience, the next artist was also not ready to perform. The listeners were also not ready to listen to anyone else. So this was the situation. Then the organizers, it was midnight, and organizers were so scared and nervous. Then someone told, अगर बंगाल की इज्जत बचाना है तो वो बंगाल के जादूगिरी कर सकता है. Then that time they went to Inayat Khan Sahab's house in where he used to stay. Then at midnight Khan Sahab opened the door. Then he told Khan Sahab, please come. So he was reluctant. Then he told, अगर बंगाल की इज्जत बचाना है तो वो आप ही बचा सकते हैं खान साहब. Then he was moved by these words and took his sitar. And Inayat Khan Sahab told this to his disciples later. When I entered the hall, I could see either Basant or some rag. I could see Abdul Karim Khan's those phrases I could visualize, and I could feel the vibration what has happened in this venue some time back. Yeah. Then gradually I started tuning sitar in Khamaj, and I started playing jhala for 15 to 20 minutes just to just with an attempt to break that atmosphere
Wow.
and to do something new. He played Jhala, and after playing 15 to 20 minutes Jhala, again the audience was eager to listen to some music from Anath Khan Sahab, and he played next. So this
Yeah.
was right. Um, yeah, there are a few other things I think for the we have to keep something for the next episodes also. Yeah.
Let's hear some more music, so then we can talk about that and let the music direct the conversation.
Yes. Yeah. And we will talk about his students. So we are playing his sitar recording on Rag Bhupali.
This is the one that Pandit Ravi Shankar ji had talked about, right?
Right, right. He in some instances told Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab the way he did Padha Sarega, the way he derived these notes. There the sitar starts and there the sitar ends.
Mm-hmm.
So that was his words. So let me charger. Yeah. So this is that recording. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. क्या डिफरेंट माहौल बना दिया ना इस रिकॉर्डिंग का।
जी जी, इसमें पूरा बिल्कुल एकदम दूसरा
एक कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट माहौल है जो जो उनकी दूसरी रिकॉर्डिंग्स हैं उससे ये कितना अलग है।
जी बिल्कुल, क्योंकि इस पे मस्जिद खानी गत, तो आई थिंक दिस इज द ओनली रिकॉर्डिंग which has stop sharing, which has the Basit Khani composition in it.
ना और पूरा बजाने का स्टाइल,
Approach,
डेवलपमेंट का स्टाइल, अप्रोच एकदम एकदम अलग है देन एनी ऑफ द
other
recordings,
recordings,
और मिजाज पूरा एकदम अलग है।
और हर एक में उनका एक खुद एक अलग सा स्टैम्प दिखता है, मतलब लाइक even if we were taught some composition and it was not told this was composed by Ustad Anayat Khan sir, but the character and that impression is there.
जी
His personality is seen in the composition or the way of execution, something very magical, very difficult to have adjective, but something very very magical. uh, then okay, so he was also a great guru at the same time. As you mentioned, he removed this parda system, but among his contemporary musicians, he was the first one where the royal aristocratic families, zamindar families, he had access to the Andar Mahal, the inner circle of the families. Even he used to teach the ladies of those families. So he was so respected, and he was so loyal, and so that's why he had a great student circle from all the fields of life. We tried to have the names of his students who are mostly from Bengal. Other than Abba, Sri Birendra Kishore Roy Chaudhuri, who was the Zamindar of Gauripur. Virendra Kishore Roy Chaudhuri, the same name, Zamindar of Ram Gopalpur. Gyanodakanta Rai Chaudhuri, Zamindar of Kalipur. Jyotish Chandra Chaudhuri, Zamindar of Bhavanipur. Niradakanta Rai Chaudhuri, Zamindar of Kalipur. Bimolakanta Rai Chaudhuri, Zamindar of Vitarband. Then Sri Bipin Das, Sri Jitendra Mohan Sengupta, Sri Hirendra Mohan Dasgupta, Bimalakanta Rai Chaudhuri, Khemendra Mohan Thakur, Amyokanti Bhattacharya, who was known as Bhombol Babu as well. He was highly talented, and Ravi Shankarji was first inspired to take up sitar after listening to Amyokanti Bhattacharya's sitar playing. He has mentioned this in his autobiography. John Gomez, whose son Benjamin Gomes was learned from Abba and Nimrat Khan Sahab also. Srimati Kalyani, Dr. Kalyani Mallik, Dr. Prakash Chandra Sen, Sri Dhrubotara Joshi, Birendranath Mitro, Brojeshwar Nandi, Manoj Mohan Rai, who was Jamidar of Rajshahi, Binapani Moitro, who was mother of late Pandit Radhika Mohan Moitro, the Sarod Maestro, Renuka Saha, Srinivas Nag, Sripati Das, Sarojini De, Babu Bholanath Mallik, Bimalendu Mukherjee, and Pulin Bihari Dev Burman. I think he was from Tripura. So he had many disciples, and they carried forward this lineage, and they also had their grand disciples also. In that way, this thing carried forward. So Vaya, if you could add something here, if you, in case you have, if you want to add some anecdote or any interesting thing which we should know.
I mean, obviously, he was a prolific teacher. I mean, and somebody who was very fond of teaching. You can see it in that recording of Abba's story where he's 8 years old, and उन्होंने already एक 8 साल के बच्चे को इतना पुख्ता musician बना दिया था कि he was able to do a recording and so that speaks to volumes about his capacity as a teacher. And these
Right.
are all students जो आपने mention किए, again, we are going back in time. There's a lot of history that's been lost.
Ji.
And these are just people that we have been able to document and find. But I'm sure there are so many more that we don't have information about. But these little glimpses into him, I think, really describes him as a person, and what kind of a person he was.
Because he stayed in many cities and many states, but this history we have collected mostly from Bengal, and
Right,
history was written in Bengal. That's why we get to know about all the Bengali, mostly Bengali students.
right.
Um, and DT Joshi mentions in his one of his notes that he like we have different types of students, right? Some are advanced, some are intermediate, some are you know still learning and trying to do better. So once the advanced students laugh at the other students who are not that much developed, he used to notice that silently,
Hmm.
and he used to teach them and do make them riyaz in such a way,
Hmm.
and he used to do kind of monthly baitak
Hmm.
just to evaluate the progress of the students. He used to present that student in such a way that advanced students also used to astonished how this person is playing like this.
Right.
So these were his teaching qualities. Now we will conclude Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab's part with his Bhairavi.
इसमें वो जो सपाट तान है वो कमाल मतलब that again, so the introduction of that सपाट तान, which is this recording is so different than the last recording that was played Bhopali ki. The
जी.
movements, the feel, everything about this recording is so different. Again, now this speaks about the versatility of this artist.
जी. Now,
अब्बा कहते थे कि
जी
जिसने इनायत खान साहब को सामने से सुन लिया
जी
उसको मे भी अंदाजा होगा ऑफ हिज सुप्रीम बीइंग।
जी
वो हमेशा कहते थे कि मेरे से वो गाना बजाना हुआ नहीं, इसलिए मैंने अपना oh there you go somebody he was a supreme artist. Yes, Abba would state this all the time, all the time. He was just an absolute supreme artist and magical touch in his playing, and he says used to say मेरे से वो गाना बजाना हुआ नहीं, इसलिए मैंने अपना गाना बजाना चेंज कर दिया। क्या बात।
So Dr. Saab is saying that thanks Hidayat Sahib, yes, when you are in India, we will take you to Etawah. So
अरे वाह डॉक्टर साहब, थैंक यू सो मच। मैं बस I will definitely take you on that. We'll Ramba, we should all go to Etawah together and spend
जी
some time there.
जी
है ना, क्या देखें वो माहौल वहाँ का, वो ट्रेन स्टेशन देख के ही मजा आ गया।
जी now can we move to Ustad Wahid Khan Sahab?
जी जी
Yeah, so we have got a very brief recording of Ustad Wahid Khan Sahab on Rag Bhim Palas on his Surbahar, so we will start with that. So we have a longer version, but unfortunately, recording, the sound quality is not that great. So we have got this part getting mastered. So this is just a glimpse of his, I think, the entire recording. So as we all know, he was the younger, Ustad Wahid Khan Sahab was the younger son and disciple of Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab. And here in this rare picture, we can see Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab and Ustad Wahid Khan Sahab both in one picture. I think there are a couple of other pictures we have where Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab is seen in the middle and Ustad Inayat Khan Sahab and Wahid Khan Sahab both sitting in both the sides. As we all know, he was a great upholder and propagator of Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab's music lineage. After Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab's passing, he served different royal courts, including Royal Court of Indore. He stayed in the city of Hyderabad here, and he was one of the most important sitar and surbahar maestro of his time. The characteristics, as we have seen from his brief alap on Bhimpalas, the charming appeal and sparkling clarity and boldness of his stroke and in his presentation. Then he imparted the Surbahar Talim of Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab's tradition to the next generation greats, including Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab and Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab both, and to many other musicians also. He was a regular performer of All India Radio, and he was a recipient of the prestigious President's Award. That time it used to be called, but now it is called Sangeet Natak Academy Award. He was recipient of Sangeet Natak Academy Award probably in 1960, and he was felicitated by the governor of Bombay. So these are the history that we have been able to collect about him. But on top of that, if you readily recollect any anecdote or any information, or Abbas learning from him.
Hmm. Abbas was highly उनको बहुत बहुत तालीम मिली थी वहीद खान साहब से, and उनको रियाज करवाना तालीम, और जब स्पेशली जब अब्बा दिल्ली में होते थे तो वहीद खान साहब used to come to Delhi radio station once a month or twice a month even, और अब्बा को सितार और सुरबहार की तालीम देते थे, and this went on for many years, and then later on in Bombay also, a lot of fond memories of Abbas, of Wahid Khan Sahab's, और ये जो आपने उनकी जो ये खमाज की रिकॉर्डिंग है, अब्बा हम लोग को हमेशा ये सुनवाते थे बचपन में तालीम करने के टाइम पे कि the feel and the touch. I think a little off topic, but I think we should really have Shahid Bhai someday come and talk about in depth about this lineage of of the Gharana.
Wahid Khan Sahab, Hafiz Khan Sahab, Aziz Khan Sahab.
Ji, absolutely.
Ji. So we were very blessed and fortunate that he, came on last 28th August for the event of ICMC, Ustad Shahid Parvez Khan Sahab, and he shared invaluable information and knowledge and his realization with all of us through the portal of ICMC. So that is also available in our Facebook page and his official YouTube channel. So you can watch that anytime. Yeah, we will request him. I think
we should really, because he would have so much more personal history also, because the time spent and everything. Apart from the legends and the history, musical history, personal history is also very important. That shows a lot about, describes a lot about, gives a more in-depth view of the person and the music.
Ji. Can we listen to his Khamaj recording now?
Ji, please.
All sitar.
Ji.
So this snapshot is taken from Satyajit Ray's film Jalsa Ghar, where Abba worked as music director. He directed the music. He gave the music to this film, as we all know, the entire world knows. And he presented Ustad Wahid Khan Sahab in one of the scenes. So this snippet was taken from there, from that movie. वाह वाह हाँ वाह क्या बात है वाह वाह
जिसको सुनो वो मतलब एक डिफरेंट डायरेक्शन की दुनिया है।
डिफरेंट डायरेक्शन की दुनिया है, लेकिन उसमें जो बैकग्राउंड जो लिनिएज है उसका जो रूट है वो साफ दिखता है.
एकदम
So,
क्या बात
so that is the beauty. Everyone
वाह
is different and with their own personalities and specialities, but the root जो है वो इमदाद खान साहब का जो पीछे बैकग्राउंड जो वो पूरा दिखता है.
वाह, दिस इज सच अ ब्यूटीफुल पिक्चर।
This is yeah with Ravi Shankar ji
हाँ,
and with Wahid Khan साहब.
और ये रिकॉर्डिंग भी क्या खूबसूरत रिकॉर्डिंग है, वाह पीलू
जी
की।
जी जी. So let's listen to this recording
जी
of Ustad Wahid Khan साहब. जी.
आई मीन इन रिकॉर्डिंग से
Sorry.
एक चीज बड़ी क्लियर है,
जी
रियाज हर एक इंसान की, हर एक इमदाद खान साहब की रिकॉर्डिंग, इनायत खान साहब की रिकॉर्डिंग, वहीद खान साहब की रिकॉर्डिंग से एक चीज बड़ी क्लियर है कि किस लेवल का रियाज किया गया है,
और सोच के और
किस
सोच
लेवल का
सोच के
सोच
जी
के कंट्रोल का रियाज किया गया। उसके बाद जो चीज आती है, जो समझ में आती है कि मिजाज के और बींज, the seed as you said was Imran Khan Saab's seed, which has been taken in a slightly different direction by Inayat Khan Saab, then slightly different direction by Wahid Khan Saab, and then explored in their own sort of way. But that structure is there,
जी
yet the evolution is also there.
एब्सोल्युटली.
What just brilliant piece of music, and what brilliant musicians! Wow.
Now, from his sons, we have not got any recording of Ustad Aziz Khan Sahab, who was Ustad Shahid Parvez Khan Sahab's father. We could not find any recording, but we have got one recording of Ustad Hafiz Khan Sahab, who was later very famous playback singer in Bollywood with the name Hafiz Khan Mastana, H. Khan Mastana, as he was very famous. And today, my friend has given a couple of clips. He's seen in the movies also. He appeared in the movies also. So, um, the recording that we have got is on Rag Bihag of Ustad Hafiz Khan Sahab. So let's listen to this recording. We are in process of gathering, as you mentioned, more information. So once we have that, we can have the session with, as you mentioned, with the Shahid Parvez Saab. I think the jhala is missing from this recording.
Ji. No, but it gives us a glimpse into again the same, the seed of the same gharana and the same evolution and that the bloodline.
Bloodline. And the riyaz, what kind of riyaz all of them have done.
Kya baat?
Now, if we start talking about Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab, then probably we need another 24 hours or 1 week or 1 month to cover all the points. Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab's contribution, his music. If you could just, start how we can start to talk about Abba, because we don't have much time, but again, we have to cover Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab and Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab. So, what do you want to say about Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab, your Ustad, your father, in few lines? It is very challenging task, but still, if I can ask.
अब्बा एक कहानी बोलते थे अक्सर कि हाउ डिड राधा फील अबाउट कृष्णा, तो वो कहते थे कि आँख के पास ज़बान नहीं है, ज़बान के पास आँख नहीं है, तो अगर तो आप कैसे थे, किस तरीके से मैं डिस्क्राइब करूं? तो अब्बा के बारे में मतलब बात उठती है, हम लोग बात जिक्र करना शुरू करते हैं, तो किसी भी एक डायरेक्शन में चले जाएं, इट्स जस्ट एन एंटायर यूनिवर्स. So I think हम लोग ने जो सोचा था कि म्यूजिक उनका थ्रू द डेकेड्स करेंगे, थ्रू द अर्ली डेकेड्स टू द प्रेजेंट टाइम. I think if we can reverse that, because it'll be a very distinct difference. Like if we can start with something present of his, okay, there'll be a contrast to the music that is happening now. Okay, how after this kind of music and these kind of ustads and influential people of their era, where he
जी
took his music. I mean, how like जब इनको सुनते हैं तो समझ में नहीं आता है कि आगे क्या हो सकता है. फिर आप
जी
उस्ताद विलायत खान साहब को का कंप्लीट म्यूजिक सुनिए और अब देखिए कि हाउ ही चेंज द एंटायर वर्ल्ड ऑफ म्यूजिक, completely
जी
single-handedly changed the entire world of music. So let's reverse the order, if you don't mind, Rampai. That let's
जी
do something and go back in time with him, and then we'll connect the dots like that.
Sure. I think the most recent recording that we have probably is the Purva recording on Survahar, because we have listened a lot of sitar recordings in last few slides. So if we can start with the Purva recording on Survahar.
Absolutely, anything, huh?
Yeah. And deliberately we have kept Survahar recording because most of the recordings we have heard, for each artist we have heard Survahar also. So
जी.
yeah.
मैं पूर्वा बजाऊंगा.
Just I dared to stop at the first mohra because it was very difficult to stop in between because इतना ऐसा सिलसिला बढ़ रहा है, इतना एक सिस्टम बिल्ड हो रहा है और बढ़त हो रहा है, इसके बीच में हम बंद भी नहीं कर सकते. So this is like if you throw me in an ocean, तो ऐसे ऐसे बात हो गई है ना.
या क्या कह सकते हैं, मतलब Ram bhai,
Possibility
the music
in
talk for itself. Let's just play the next recording and then play the next recording and then क्या बोले, मतलब
जी. So this is a Sindhu Bhairavi recording with Ustad Zakir Hasan, which is probably one of the finest recording of instrumental music.
I mean, again, the same words: mizaj, treatment, feeling.
Ji. And I got an SMS. Probably there was some confusion with my words. What I tried to mend is, जैसे आप अगर समंदर में हो या आसमान पे हो जहाँ पे आपको मतलब कोई किनारा नहीं मिलता है, the endless possibilities in music. So that we can feel in the previous recording or this recording. You take any recording of Ustad Hidayat Khan, so we get the same feeling.
सही बात है, सही बात है.
जी.
We have done